Younger me, if I could sit you down right now, I'd tell you something that would change everything. But I know you wouldn't believe me. Not yet. Because right now, you think you have time. You think life is a straight road stretching endlessly ahead. You think success, happiness, and meaning are waiting for you somewhere in the future, just a little further down the path. One day, sooner than you think, you'll wake up and realize you're not chasing a future anymore. You're standing in it. And when that day comes, the things you thought would make you happy won't matter as much. The things you feared losing won't seem so important. And the biggest question you'll face won't be about what's ahead, but about who you are. Younger me, I've brought some minds with me today, the great thinkers who understood what most never do. Napoleon Hill, the man who revealed the secrets of success. Abraham Maslow, who redefined what it means to be fulfilled. Viktor Frankl, who proved that meaning is not given but chosen. Saurin Card, who taught us that fear is not the enemy but the gateway to freedom. Carl Rogers, who showed that the life we live might not be the one we were meant for. And Alfred Adler, who believed we are not prisoners of our past but the authors of our future. They have something to tell you, younger me, something that will make all the difference. Because midlife is not a crisis, it's an awakening. And your real life, the one that is truly yours and yours alone, hasn't even begun. Younger me, you've spent your whole life trying to be the right kind of person, the kind who fits in, the kind who's respected, the kind who makes others proud. And for years you convinced yourself that this is who you really are, that this version of you, the one the world sees, is the only one that exists. But I need you to listen carefully now, because Napoleon Hill is here to tell you the truth. You are not just the person you show the world. You are also everything you have hidden away. The doubts, the anger, the secret ambitions you were too afraid to chase, the sadness you swallowed and told yourself wasn't real. These things didn't disappear. They became your shadow. And as long as you refuse to see it, it will control you. Hill spent his life studying why people lose themselves and found that most of us live as half a person. We wear masks, play roles, become whatever we need to be to feel safe. And for a while, younger me, it works. But then something happens, a crack appears, the mask begins to slip, and you start to realize that the life you built isn't enough. Not because it was bad, but because it was incomplete. Midlife is when the shadow comes calling. It doesn't ask for permission. It forces you to look at yourself. Not the carefully constructed version, but the person you really are. And that, younger me, is terrifying. Because to accept yourself fully means facing the parts you don't like. So what happens if you don't? What if you ignore the shadow and pretend it isn't there? That's when it begins to rule you from the dark. It twists your desires into addictions. It turns your unspoken fears into anger at the world. It makes you resent others for the very things you refuse to see in yourself. This is why so many people in midlife feel lost, bitter, or restless. They're fighting an enemy inside them. But here's the secret Napoleon Hill wanted you to know. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your missing heart. And if you have the courage to turn toward it instead of running away, you will find that everything you've been searching for was hidden there all along. So how do you integrate it? It begins with honesty. Stop filtering your thoughts to be acceptable. Notice what triggers you in others, because those are often parts of yourself you have buried. Write down the things you avoid thinking about. Face them, question them, understand them, and slowly you will start to feel whole. Hill once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, but it is also the most liberating, because the moment you stop fighting yourself, you realize you were never broken. You were simply unfinished. And now at last, you have the chance to become whole." Younger me, you remember the first time you tasted success, the rush, the validation, the feeling that finally you were somebody? You thought that was the goal? To prove yourself, to achieve more, to build a life that looked good from the outside. But let me introduce you to Abraham Maslow. He would tell you that you were chasing a dream that was never really yours. Maslow spent his life studying what truly makes people fulfilled and discovered something most of the world doesn't understand. The people who feel the deepest sense of purpose aren't the ones who achieved the most, they are the ones who became the most. You've spent years climbing, chasing promotions, seeking approval, building a reputation, and for a long time, younger me, that felt like enough. But I have to warn you, one day you will wake up and all of it will feel strangely hollow, not because you did something wrong, but because you're being called to something more. Maslow's hierarchy of needs explains it all. In the beginning, we seek security, stability, belonging. We work to build something solid beneath us. And that's good. It's necessary. But there comes a moment when the foundation is built and a new question arises. Now what? That moment, younger me, is the beginning of self-actualization. But what does that actually look like? It's different for everyone. For some, it means leaving behind a career that no longer aligns with their values. For others, it means embracing creativity, connection, or personal growth over external rewards. It's about shifting from seeking achievement to seeking meaning. But here's what Maslow never said outright. Most people never reach self-actualization. They get stuck in earlier stages, trapped by comfort, fear, or routine. How do you know if that's happening to you? Ask yourself this: are you still chasing success? This is why so many people in their 40s feel lost, not because they've done something wrong, but because they're being called to something more, to stop proving and start becoming, to stop chasing and start choosing. And here's the great irony. Younger me, the moment you stop obsessing over success is the moment you finally find it, not in money, not in status, but in the quiet certainty that you are at last living the life meant for you. Younger me, you've spent years believing that happiness is something you can catch if you work hard enough, earn enough, love the right person, live in the right place. Then finally you will have arrived. And for a while it felt like you were getting closer, but something inside you never quite settled. No matter how much you achieved, there was always that quiet, nagging voice whispering, "Is this it?" Let me introduce you to Viktor Frankl. He was a man who endured the unimaginable, survived Nazi concentration camps, stripped of everything, his family, his career, his freedom. And yet in the middle of that horror, he made a discovery that would change how we understand the human experience. Happiness, younger me, is not something you chase. No one told you. It's something that emerges when you live with meaning. Frankl watched some people in the camps, despite their suffering, hold on to something that kept them going, a purpose, a reason to wake up the next day. He realized the ones who survived weren't necessarily the strongest. They were the ones who had found something worth surviving for. You, younger me, have spent so much time pursuing happiness, but you've been looking in the wrong place. The job, the recognition, the things you own, none of it will ever be enough. Why? Because happiness isn't something you get. It's something you allow when your life aligns with a deeper sense of purpose. But what does that mean for you right now? How do you create meaning when you feel stuck in a life that doesn't seem to have one? Frankl found that meaning comes in three ways: through work, through love, and through suffering. First, meaning through work. Not just a job, but a calling. Doing something that serves a purpose greater than yourself. It doesn't have to be grand. It can be raising a child, building a community, creating something that outlives you. It's about contribution. Second, meaning through love. Not romantic love, but the kind that makes life rich. Deep friendships, kindness, shared experiences, the people who make you feel seen. If you have no one in your life who truly knows you, younger me, you are not living yet. Third, meaning through suffering. This is the hardest to understand, but the most powerful. When pain enters your life, and it will, you have a choice. You can let it shatter you, or you can harness it. Some of the most purpose-driven individuals in history transformed their deepest pain into their greatest calling. Survivors became healers. The lost became guides helping others find their path. Napoleon Hill himself said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Younger me, if you ever feel life has lost its meaning, focus on these three questions. What are you creating? Who are you loving? What suffering are you turning into strength? Answer these, and you will never feel lost again. I know how much you fear change, how you overthink, hesitate, and weigh every option before moving forward. You cling to the familiar, telling yourself one day you'll take the risk, make the leap. Yet, you never feel ready. Napoleon Hill understood that fear well. He called it the dizziness of freedom. That terrifying moment when you realize your life is entirely in your own hands. No script, no guarantees, just you standing at the edge of the unknown, paralyzed by what might happen if you jump. But Hill also knew something crucial. Fear is not your enemy. It is the gateway. The only way to step into the life meant for you is to embrace it. Younger me, listen closely. You will never feel fully ready. And if you wait for that moment, you will wait forever. But that doesn't mean every fear should be ignored. How do you tell when it's time to leap? Hill believed there are two kinds of fear: the fear that signals danger and the fear that signals growth. The first is instinctual. If there's a fire, you don't walk into it. But the second is different. It arises when you stand on the brink of something new, something calling you, even if it terrifies you. That is the fear you must move toward. Think of the things you've always wanted to do but never dared, the job you secretly dream of, the place you long to live, the part of yourself you hide for fear of judgment. The only barrier between you and that life is fear of the unknown. Hill's leap of faith wasn't just about risk. It was about trusting what can't yet be proven. For some, that means faith in God. For others, faith in themselves. At its core, the leap is choosing to believe that the life meant for you waits beyond fear, even without evidence. One day, younger me, you will reach a point where staying the same hurts more than changing. You'll stand on the edge of something new, heart racing, stomach twisting, wondering if you really can do this. Remember this moment. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal you're on the brink of something extraordinary. How do you take the leap? First, recognize when you face a transformational moment. If a choice excites and terrifies you equally, pay attention. That's a clue. Second, don't wait for certainty. It will never come. Begin before you feel ready. Third, remind yourself, the greatest mistake is doing nothing. Hill warned, to dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. To not dare is to lose oneself. The leap always feels impossible until the moment you make it. Then, younger me, you will realize you were always meant to soar. You've spent your life trying to be the version of yourself that makes others comfortable. You played roles, said the right things, wore the right masks, and for a while convinced yourself this was who you truly were. But tell me, when was the last time you felt truly free? Napoleon Hill studied what makes life real and found this truth: the further you drift from your authentic self, the more lost you become. Younger me, I have to ask, if you stripped away expectations, pressures, and fears, who would you be? I know the answer scares you because you've built a life that looks right but doesn't feel right. You followed a path that made sense on paper, but inside something doesn't click. You keep waiting, thinking that if you just work harder, achieve more, prove yourself enough, you'll finally feel whole. But you won't, because the problem isn't what you've done. It's that you're not being yourself. Hill called this alignment. The moment the person you are inside matches the life you live outside. Younger me, here's the truth. That alignment is the only way to feel free. But what if you don't know who you really are? What if you've spent so long being what others expect that you've lost touch with yourself? Hill had an answer. First, stop censoring yourself. Notice when you change your words, tone, or opinions just to fit in. Ask yourself, if I wasn't afraid of judgment, what would I say? Second, Pay attention to what excites you, what pulls at you, even if it doesn't make sense. That is your true self trying to be heard. Third, practice radical self-acceptance. Hill believed true growth begins when you stop trying to fix yourself and start realizing you were never broken. One day, younger me, you will grow too tired of pretending, of saying yes when you want to say no, of showing up where you don't belong, of living a life that doesn't fit. When that day comes, remember Hill's words. A fulfilling life is a journey, not a destination. And it begins when you stop pretending. Younger me, the biggest lie you've believed is that your past defines you, that your mistakes, regrets, and others' judgments have carved a path you can't escape. Napoleon Hill would tell you otherwise. He spent his life studying why people stay trapped in unhappiness and found it isn't what happened to them, but the story they tell themselves about it. Younger me, if you believe you're a failure, you'll act like one. If you believe you're unworthy, you'll settle for less. If you believe you're stuck, you won't move forward. But what if that story isn't true? Hill knew you can rewrite your narrative at any time. You are not a victim of your past. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are not limited by who you used to be. Right now, you are as free as you decide to be. I know what you're thinking. It's not that simple. What if your past holds real pain and failure? What if changing your story feels like lying to yourself? Hill's answer? Your past is fact, but the meaning you assign to it is your choice. Yes, bad things happened. Yes, you made mistakes, but they only define you if you let them. The past is just events. Only the story you tell gives them power over you. How do you change that story? First, challenge your beliefs. Write down what you think about yourself. I always fail. I'm not enough. I'll never be happy. Ask, is this objectively true or just something I've told myself so often I believe it? Second, find proof to the contrary. Recall moments you succeeded, showed strength, or overcame challenges. Third, begin acting as if your new story is already true. If you believed you were capable, how would you behave? If you believed you were worthy, what would you say yes to, and what would you finally walk away from? One day, younger me, you will see your past as a reference point, not your residence. The pen has always been in your hand, and the moment you choose to write a new story is when your life truly begins. So here we are, younger me. You spent years fearing midlife, thinking 40 meant time was running out. But now you know the truth. This is not the end, it's the beginning. Napoleon Hill taught you that you are not broken, only unfinished. Maslow showed success isn't about possessions, but who you become. Frankl proved meaning is chosen, not given. Hill reminded you fear isn't a sign to stop, but to leap. Hill showed that when you stop pretending, you start truly living, and handed you the pen to rewrite your story. Younger me, you are no longer chasing life, you are stepping into it, and you, younger me, are finally ready.